Hey, welcome back to Hot Topics Live podcast. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever experienced chronic pain? Do you know what it's like to wake up every day and have pain in some part of your body? Because I do. I live with chronic pain every single day. And my life has become largely about managing it and managing it in a way that allows me to actually live a life and not be in bed 24 hours a day or in constant pain and misery. So, if that sounds similar to you or familiar, then this episode is for you. Remember to stay till the end because I have something special for you. I have a gift for you. So, you have to stay till the end if you want to see it or experience it or receive it, I should say. And if you don't know me by now, my name is Kia. I am a founder, I am a coach, I am a pinup, I am a podcast host. And this podcast is your reminder that you are amazing and that you deserve to be living your best life possible. And this episode today is going to teach you one way to do just that. So let me tell you about my guest, okay? She is an extraordinary soul, first and foremost. She has worked with so many celebrities like Tony Robbins, and you know how I like him. Okay, I love him. No tea, no shade. I've been to lots of his workshops, and without her help, he'd be having a lot of problems. If you know his backstory, you know what I'm talking about. So let me read her bio because she's extraordinary and I don't want to miss anything, right? So she has her Bachelor of Science from UCLA. That's impressive. Doctor of Chiropractic at LCCW, postdoctoral with Dr. Donald Epstein in NSA and SRI and wellness education. She has been in practice for 20 years, so you know she knows what she's talking about. And she's got offices in Beverly Hills, Singapore, and now globally, 96,000 sessions, 764 workshops given globally. Dr. Linda used to give care to Tony Robbins. She's helped him. And like I said, lots of other celebrities too, and currently helping lots of celebrities too. So this is special. Okay. She has a website called spinalmagic.com. And let me tell you, I talked to her a couple weeks ago for the first time. And the extraordinary energy that comes from this woman, you know that when she's working with you, she's healing you on a lot of levels. So when we're talking about chronic pain today, you know, we're not just talking about superficial shit. Okay. We're going to go deep and talk about like real stuff and the emotions and the mental aspects of chronic pain. And you're going to come away from this episode knowing some techniques on how to help yourself. Okay. So I want the best for you. And so does Dr. Linda. So let's bring her on. Hi.
Hello, Kia. Hi.
Welcome to Hot Topics Live podcast.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. I think we might have a little delay, but we're going to roll with it. So, Dr.
Yes, I
Linda.
think there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah. Well, she is in Europe right now, and I'm in the United States, so we're working with it. So, tell me, what made you go down this path of healing people?
Well, my own health concerns, I was going to become a medical doctor and I wanted to be a pediatrician and help children with their health and wellness. And when I was in undergrad, my own health issues, including chronic back pain, is what led me into going to chiropractic school rather than medical school. And it completely changed my life.
So, you were going into medicine and then you went into chiropractic because you were in pain. How did you manage going to do all this schooling when you yourself were suffering?
I had had it for so long. I'd had back pain since I can remember as a child. And so I had just learned to half pay attention to the world and half have constant pain. I remember going to a concert when I was, I don't know, 19 years old, and I would have to bend over every 15 minutes just to pop my back, just to get a little bit of relief. And so I didn't almost know what it was like to live life without physical pain. Yeah.
Wow. I understand that because, like I said in the intro of this episode, I live with pain. I have fibromyalgia, so I often have pain widespread throughout my body. I've been through chiropractic care for it, which does help to an extent. Um, but it's difficult when you're constantly or frequently suffering with something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. The people that I touch on a regular basis when they come in, they're usually in some sort of really acute pain or some sort of really chronic pain. And they've usually been to everybody. They've been to the surgeon, they've had the shots, they've had the painkillers, they've been to the multiple chiropractors, osteopaths, physios, acupuncture, energy healers. It's like by the time people find me, they've made their rounds and they've almost fully given up. And so someone will have referred them to me. And this is when I get to not just help them change their physical pain, I get to just do an overall overhaul of who the person is being and an re education of what pain is really about.
That's interesting. So I want to come back to that, but I had a question for you. And then I want to talk about what the pain is really about, because I feel like that's a deep dive. But before we go there, I want to ask you like, you're getting all these referrals and people are coming to you kind of like a last resort. It sounds like what sets you apart from everyone that you're like the last step and somehow you're able to help them?
The biggest thing is everything has been dissected and cut down. So if someone's in physical pain, they usually go to a physical treatment, right? They'll go to the chiropractor or the osteopath. If they're in emotional pain, they'll go to the psychologist. If they're having some sort of spiritual pain, they'll go to a spiritual person or a religious leader for that, right? And everything is compartmentalized, but that's just a construct of our mind or of our society. Life is not compartmentalized. Life is one unit. Just like how I tell my people, say hi to Spinacus, right? It's like we call these different vertebrae, right? And we call this a different part versus this part, versus we call the brain something different from the spinal cord. But the reality is it's all one unit. And that's what makes me different. I address people on a physical level, on an emotional level, on a mental level, on are they able to connect to their soul? Are they able to listen to their soul signals? Are they congruent and in alignment with every aspect of ourselves? Because that's what creates long lasting health. Because if the physical is out of alignment, sometimes it has to do with how they're relating with other people. Sometimes it has to do with who they're showing up as at work. And it's like all those aspects of the person need to line up for their spine to line up. So their spine is related to the life that they're living.
Oh my God, I just had such an epiphany when you were saying that. Like, if you are out of alignment, then you're out of alignment. Like, if your whole being is out of alignment, then maybe your back or something physical in your body is also. That's really
That's
deep.
it. And if someone aligns you physically, but you haven't learned how to align yourself emotionally, then that muscle tension is going to pull that vertebra back out of alignment faster than it was physically aligned. So that is exactly it. We need to align not on a physical level only. We need to align emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in our relationships and who we show up as in life and at work in order for everything to line up.
That's incredible. I really have never thought of it that way. I mean, so in 2016, I had a nephrectomy, like I had a kidney removed, right? And when that happened, it was so sort of life changing. But after that, I spent, I think, from 2018 to about 2020 doing a deep dive into spirituality and the mind body connection and the emotional connection to our organs. And I learned that while sure, my kidney was failing and I needed to have it removed, there was a very big emotional connection with repressed emotions being stored in that kidney that contributed to it malfunctioning and ultimately having to be removed. So when you say that there's like a mind and body connection, an emotional and spiritual connection, I really get that because it's really in alignment with what I learned about that experience I had.
That's it. That's exactly it. So it's like if something is spasming, it's because you're spasming. If something is in pain, it's because we are in pain. So people say, oh, I have a bad back or a bad knee. And it's like, no, I'm in pain is the first sentence. Because if it's you that's in pain, then you can do something about it. But if it's happening to you and it's the big bad boogeyman that just attacked you out of nowhere, or it's like, oh, my dad had back pain, so I have back pain. It's like then we're a victim and then we can't heal it.
Wow. So that's what you mean by what's deeper than the pain, like what's really behind the pain is the physical pain, is an emotional pain or mental pain.
Yes. And it also has to do with, our traumas. Did we process our traumas? Did we process them only mentally? Are they still having anchors in our physiology and neurology?
Mhm.
That's what we look at when I see people. That's the first thing that I need to educate people on, that this is related to your life. This is related to your um, traumas. This is related to your ranges and your bandwidths. Because if your range of emotion is this wide due to your conditioning, and then something happens and you need to have a bandwidth of this wideness to process it, well, then that's going to be a trauma. But if your emotional range is this big, right? And what's happening is only this big, then we don't even register it as a stress. So it's really important to have a huge range of motion, of mental, of spiritual, which then allows our physical body to have that flexibility and that ability to receive information and to be permeable to the information and be able to process it and respond to it. But when we have a reduced range due to our conditioning, oh, I can't be this kind of a person. Oh, I can't have this emotion. Oh, I have these kinds of thoughts, right? It reduces our range. So when we have that reduced range, then we have a reduced ability to receive and to be able to respond. So it actually also affects our adaptability to life. And that's the thing. When people say it, we're stressed out, what we're actually saying is I'm in fear. I'm in fear because my range is not as big to be able to respond to life with and to be able to adapt to life with. And so then we go into pain. We go into pain because now instead of responding and adapting to life, we end up having to fight to defend ourselves. When we can't be bad or good, sometimes we need to be able to receive criticism. And when we're unable to receive criticism, we go into defense. And that defense is what our spine shows. Our spine is our history. And it's our position in life because our spine is our sense of self. This is how we get to show the world our emotional expression. This is how we get to show the world where we're at. So if you want to know where people are at, if someone has tucked their tail in and they've done this, are they happy? If someone is in this place, are they receptive? Just by looking at someone and how they're wearing their body and looking at their spine, you know so much about them. Their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their aptitudes, and their wounds.
Incredible. What an amazing explanation. I mean, it makes so much sense to me because, we store so much trauma in our body, right? It makes sense that it will manifest itself in physical ways.
That's it. That's it. And then the trauma stretches our spinal cord. When we go into trauma, what ends up happening is the blood goes from our frontal cortex. This is the part of us that we go, what's the meaning of my life? And we have an observer. When we go into stress, the blood literally goes to our hindbrain or our midbrain. Okay, the hindbrain is all about just fight, flight, protection. The midbrain is when we're on autopilot, which we end up living out our conditioning. Okay, so what ends up happening is when the blood goes here or back here, our spinal cord stretches, our nerve roots stretch, what makes us tense up our muscles because now our body is preparing to punch or to run or to freeze or to appease. And so now our organs aren't functioning correctly. Digestion turns off, sexual desire turns off. We don't sleep peacefully because our body is ready to protect itself. We lose mind-body connection, awareness. And it's like people should be called a different name when they're in stress mode versus in ease mode because their relationships suffer, who they show up at work suffers, their creativity and problem solving and adapting and responding to life suffers.
It's so true. It's so true. And when you think about it too, like when you're in chronic pain and you're not feeling well, like you're just your body hurts and you are not the same. Like you just don't have the same bandwidth. You don't have the same patience. You don't have the same you are not the same person when you're in that mode. When something hurts day in, day out, day after day after day after day, it just wears you down. And if you don't realize there's an emotional connection to that, a mental connection to that, then it affects every relationship you have. Every single one, whether it's a working relationship with your job or in your career, with your spouse, with your children, because you just don't show up the same.
No, no, we're not at our fullest possibility of living life. We're definitely not when we're in chronic pain. So what creates the chronic pain is a lack of bandwidth. Then when we have the chronic pain, it reduces our bandwidth even more. So it just becomes this vicious cycle.
So what do we do?
So step one is knowing when we are in pain that it has to do with our life. It has to do with who we are being. It has to do with our ranges or lack of ranges, because then that creates empowerment. It's like, okay, I'm creating this pain. If I'm creating this pain, then I can do something different. Okay. And what basically we look at is if it's a lot, if you feel your spine, okay, and your spine feels hard, that means you're not allowing yourself to experience your experience and you're probably rationalizing things. Okay. And the number one thing we are escaping is feeling helpless, not enough, unloved, or less than. This is what is behind our defenses, because we resist the experience of helplessness, of someone being more than us, right? Why do women fight with their husbands? Why did you look at that guy? I don't like how you looked at that guy. Okay. Or why are you doing this? Right? Why? Because she doesn't want to feel unloved, helpless, less than, or not enough. And so when we start being able to receive and experience these feelings over the parts of our body that has high vagus nerve innervations, we are for ourselves able to digest these experiences. And so what I do is I do three things when I work with people. I coach people in how to identify different things that they're not able to receive so they can receive these experiences, so they don't have to defend themselves against these experiences. Number two is I teach them certain strategies. Sometimes when we are operating too quickly or too slowly, which is not in our nature, this also puts us into a place where we can't be receptive. And the third part is by checking your spine. Because when I check your spine, if the bones are hard, I know you're not doing well with uncertainty. If there's a lot of muscle tension, that tells me there's a lot of emotion that you're not processing. Okay. If there's a lot of tension inside your spinal cord, I know you have stories that you say to yourself that are not helpful, that don't help you progress and be more adaptive to life. Right. So then I start working with that part of your body and your nervous system, and we expand those ranges. And I coach you. Sometimes people who have a lot of inflammatory issues, those people are the people who have a hard time expressing anger, right? I'm not saying throw bottles at people or, hurt people. I'm talking anger is going and actually feeling that, right? Because when we call our friends and we say, oh my gosh, can you believe it? I'm so angry. That's actually not anger. That's rationalization. Emotions are pre-rational. Emotions are sounds. Think of a 2-year-old. Okay. And so as we look at the body tells us what needs to update and upgrade. We constantly are updating our computers, our phones, and we basically want to do the exact same thing with our nervous system. So it can process things in a way that it hasn't been able to process before. And so I can even go further on this. If I look at someone and their lower neck has a lot of tension, that's where anger is. So that's telling me that person is going to have a hard time in allowing intimacy and trust with other people. If it's happening in their pelvis, that tells me that person has a hard time being congruent with their own choices, and they bend to please other people so they can be given scraps of love and acceptance. Okay, so it can get very specific. So then when I coach the person as I'm working with their nervous system, I can give them exact coachings and create that yellow brick road with them. And that's when the healing starts happening. And that's when new results start happening because they're doing things that are new and they're experiencing experiences that they have previously defended themselves from experiencing.
My kids are being loud, so if you I have to mute myself sometimes. But that is really extraordinary.
Sorry, you cut out.
Incredibly good stuff. Incredibly good stuff. I mean, to know that you can isolate what part of the body means what, and it can tell you feedback on what's happening in your emotional state is just so exciting and life changing. Because once you know that, then you kind of know what to do to begin the work of changing that pain. Mhm.
That's it. That's it. It's like I had someone come in with a huge Dowager's hump here. So this part of their spine, okay, was like this. And I touched her and I held her. And she goes, "What?" And I go, "Wow, you must have experienced so much loss so early on in life." The tears came. Her mother had passed on when she was a year and a half.
It's so sad, like, and that you could just tell that from seeing her the shape of her spine.
I can also, so when I lived in LA, I used to hike in Runyon Canyon. And I knew which couples were having passion with each other and getting along and having great intimacy and which couples were not. Want to hear it?
Definitely.
So, when when we have a low back curve, when a woman has a low back curve, that means she is in her feminine energy.
Stop
When
it.
women
Really?
get stressed, yes.
Mm.
So when women get stressed, we lose the low back curve. It becomes flat. So that masculinizes us. So my low back pain connected to that primarily. I was born in a country where women didn't have a lot of rights. So at a very young age, I realized that, hey, men have it a lot better than women in terms of rights and freedom. So I cut my hair short. I called myself Hinda instead of Linda as a little kid, right? And I masculinized myself because I realized that it sucked to be a woman in this country. And so when I started my own healing journey, I had no low back curve. Okay. And for men, you want them to have a flatter low back because that's the masculine energy. And when men go to feminism, when they go into stress mode, okay, then what ends up happening is if you have two curved backs, there's going to be not a lot of passion. Okay. If you have two flat backs, that's going to be a lot of fighting and bickering.
Wow.
You want one flat back and one curved back. It doesn't matter, same sex, opposite sex, it doesn't matter. Okay. We need, in order for relationship to have passion and connection and cooperation together, harmony, we need a flat back and a curved back. And this can contribute to pain.
Wow. That is so extraordinary. I mean, I never thought of it that way, but I will tell you what. It's interesting that you brought that up because I do like this little foam roller Pilates workout. And I actually started this year. I don't know if anyone have heard of it, but I'm going to give it a shout out right now. I have been doing the libido workout. So this girl, Irina, she's in Europe somewhere. She's on Instagram. You can check it out at Libido. It's Libdo, right? And it's very sexual based, right? It's for pelvic floor, it's lots of movements and all of these things. Lots of techniques and form that's corrected for pleasure for both of you. And that's what it's about. She's teaching women worldwide this technique, and it's so much fun to do. It's such a great workout. And I've been doing it since January. And I will tell you, one of the first things that I noticed before I started doing this is that I was having a lot of lower back pain. So I started doing this in conjunction with rolling out my lower back and doing stretches for my lower back at the beginning of the year. Now, what I can tell you is that I started the beginning of the year with a flat back. And I thought, what is wrong with my back? Why doesn't it arch? Why am I having so much difficulty arching my back, like for these movements? Why doesn't it arch anymore? So I started doing this workout, and I will tell you now, my back is curved, right? Why is that? Because doing this type of sensual workout for women boosts your feminine energy and makes you feel more feminine and sexy and all of that stuff, right? So it makes perfect sense that what your explanation of why I feel more feminine now, right? And because my back is more curved now as well.
That's right. That's
Mhm.
right. That's right. I'm on a call. Sweetheart,
We're
I'm
live
on a call
and
right
and
now.
we're parents.
Yeah,
So we
Florian,
we do
Florian,
it's
sweetheart,
what it is.
mommy's on a podcast right now.
No,
Okay? So can you take Sunny and go to Papa,
real
please?
life.
Okay? Okay. Yes. Yes, please go to Papa. Just if you go, she'll come with you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Hi, I'm back.
Hi. No, we're live. Okay. We're moms. You're going to hear noises. You're going to hear my cat, my dogs, my kids. This is part of the podcast. So it's normal happening here. But welcome back. Mom life. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Mom
so
life. Yes.
yeah, mom life. The struggle is real, although we love that struggle. But, you
Honey,
know,
can you make sure the dog and the kid are quiet? I'm on a live podcast right now. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
and wife life. We do what
Yes.
we have to do around here,
The
by
dog
the way.
isn't going. The kid is not listening. Okay. All right.
Well, if you've
Okay.
got
Back to
questions,
uninterruption.
right? Right. I was just going to say, if you have questions and you're watching live, you can ask them in the chat or drop a comment if you're watching this later when we're not live. And we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. By the way, I always answer my comments. It might take me some time, but I do. And I just always want to thank you all for being so respectful, for being so sweet, and for being so honest and loving in your comments, even though sometimes they're jaded when I do my dating shows. But I appreciate them. So thank you so much for your engagement. And if you have questions for Dr. Linda right now, now's the time. Okay. So don't be shy. Drop a comment, ask your question, chime in, say something you feel. I don't know. Tell me where your pain is. Drop it in a comment. All right. And maybe we can tell you what's affecting, what emotional state is affecting your pain. Wouldn't that be fun? So don't be shy. So where were we? Okay. Let's dive into that like further. So you could literally walk around and see what couples would be fighting, what couples would be having a passionate connection. That's amazing.
It's like when you look at someone's spine, it's like looking at their hard drive. Okay. And it's looking at their subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind is our spine. So whatever we put in the back of our spine, or whatever our backstory is located in our spine. So if I check someone's spine and if I'm given 10 questions to answer, I can select the choices that they will answer just on looking at their spine and not having have had a single conversation. And usually I don't like to have people fill out their history forms before I check their spine, just so we can do that, just so they can build trust with me, so they understand that I understand them without them needing to tell me anything.
That's brilliant. You know how many times I've been to a doctor and explained all of this stuff and then saw the notes and thought this doctor didn't listen to a word I said or understand me at all?
Yeah. Yeah. Because what this work also has given me the ability of is I'm more connected to my prefrontal cortex. So I can literally feel when people hold their breath. I can feel what they're not even feeling in their body and what they're feeling just by relating with them, just by walking down the street. It's like I'm able to access their system. I do coaching calls with people halfway around the world. And just by getting on the phone with them, I know what their concern is behind their concern. I know what they're not telling me. I know exactly when I can talk to them about what they're not telling me or ask them questions. So it's kind of makes it fun because I already see the map. And so it's more about them taking their hand as they feel safe at their speed. We go through the field trip of them and we get to them to achieve goals that they've set out for themselves in unusual ways. So I had this woman contact me because she wanted to figure some stuff out at work. And I was like, oh, your work thing is like the spokes of the wheel. What you really got to figure out is your relationship. That's the elephant in the room. And so now we're getting to really address that. And as she's addressing that, the work stuff just worked itself out. For some people come in for a health thing, and I go, you got to really get your wealth and your business stuff straightened out. Let's look at who you're showing up as a CEO in your business. Let's examine that. And as we address those things, the health will just flip with no effort.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. And with 20
Yeah.
years
And
of
then it's like,
experience behind you, it's it's like almost you have intuition and knowledge and practice.
yes, that's it. It's like after you've checked about 96,000 spines, right? It's like there's a patterning that I learn. I know if someone is on drugs. I know if someone has diabetes, what that feels like, what almost scent their body gives off. Okay. Oh, hi, Sherry. Okay.
Hey,
So
girl,
it's
hey.
like just by touching, feeling, being around, looking, it's really quite incredible, the things I people share with me. Sometimes I get privy to more details about someone than their spouse gets to know and have access to. So it's really quite sacred also. And I really feel honored about that. And I know how beautiful that is.
Yeah. I have a question for you, but before I do, Sherry's watching, and Sherry was a guest on Hot Topics live podcast about a month ago, maybe, and she did a wonderful sort of showing. Like she gave us a whole example of what her breath work is that she does. And we got to go on this journey with her live on the podcast. And I don't know if you know this, Sherry, but that is my absolute most watched podcast episode in 5 years. So just giving you a little shout out and letting you know that people like that one. So thank you for that. It was an amazing experience to witness, actually. And if you haven't seen it, you've got to go on my channel and find that episode and watch it. I'm not even going to tell you. Just go watch it. So, anyways, I want to also say that I'm so thankful that she connected us, because the word of the day is extraordinary. Okay, because you are really extraordinary. And upon meeting you a little while ago, like a couple weeks ago when we chatted, I immediately felt your energy was very unique and very special. And so when you start to say things like the spine is connected to your subconscious, it's like programming, and all of these things affects, the way you feel pain, and how you can talk to people and see the problem behind the problem. It's really powerful, because a lot of times people don't even know what the problem behind the problem is themselves, and would not be able to even identify that as a place to begin to start healing.
Absolutely. And the other thing, absolutely, is through the exercises that Sherry and I teach in the front of the body. Okay, because I can't always check people's spines all the time. Okay, but I teach them strategies for how they can help themselves. That's what I do in my Weekend of Magic programs. I spend 3 days teaching people how to help themselves. So when they are in suffering, they know what to do. When they are triggered, they know what to do, right? Or it's like if someone wants to feel their confidence right before they walk into a meeting, how to do it in 2 minutes. So it's like we end up not needing, ice baths are great, okay, but we don't end up needing ice baths, or we don't end up needing to do these extreme things, or an hour of meditation, or yoga, or whatever. All these things are wonderful. But when we need to focus, calm, regulate in less than 5 minutes, these exercises are beautiful, because we can literally align ourselves and continue onward. And that's a beautiful thing to be able to teach people how to doctor themselves. And then they, like Sherry, right, then can teach other people and help other people. So it's like we now have a web of people that can be helpful in their communities, for people I will never touch and people I will never come across. And that's something that's beautiful. Or for a mom to know how to soothe their child and soothe them on an emotional and physical level when they're in pain, rather than saying, hey, you're okay, when they're not okay.
Yeah.
How to address that, how to match them. Because if someone is not okay and we are saying to them, you're okay, we're actually not acknowledging their pain, and they end up feeling even more alone. Okay.
Completely invalidating.
Especially based, that's right. That's right. Rather than, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're hurting. Where are you hurting? Sometimes it just feels like you're always going to hurt, doesn't it? And then the kid or the adult goes,
I'm doing that right now. Yeah.
that's it. And it's like being able to be with ourselves when we're in pain, being able to be with others when they're in pain, rather than abandoning them and ourselves. Because every time we're trying to push our pain away and we turn it into, it's just a muscle spasm, it's just a bone, it's just a misalignment, it's just a posture, rather than connecting it to the wholeness of everything, where it's me. This is me. This is my life. This is my choices that I'm making that are no longer working. Then we get into an empowerment place, because then we can make different choices and we can do things differently. We can connect to our sensuality and our femininity. We can connect to our breath. We can connect to the cosmos. So, an exercise I like to share with people in how to just go beyond the mind, okay? How to just be able to connect to that space and that spaciousness where we can start receiving our soul knowing and our intuition, a place where we can go beyond our conditioning, a place where we are connected to that bright future. Okay, what we must do is first slow down. Second, focus on the energy that surrounds us rather than being so locked into our body. It's actually expanding, where we end up being almost like a perfume, where we feel the energy outside of us. So that's where our attention goes. The breath is going to be in the mouth, very spaciously and very slowly and spaciously out the nose. Okay. And as we connect to that breath, we are going to bring that intelligence of our heart. And we're going to inhale and we're going to bring that heart energy all the way up as we're inhaling to our third eye, our wisdom. And then as we go out our nose, the energy of our third eye comes down and connects back into our heart. And rather than focusing on the energy of our heart to our third eye internally, we're going to actually expand and we're going to connect to the heart of humanity. And that heart of humanity, I'm going to inhale, is going to connect to the wisdom of humanity. And the wisdom of humanity is going to bow back to the love. And when we do that, it allows us to feel our expansion. And it allows us to go beyond our rational mind. And it allows us to connect to our soul knowing and to beyond our problems, beyond our daily lives, to somewhere that's beautiful and sacred and untouched, no matter what might be going on for us. Try that at home. Just even try this, the spacious breath of in the mouth and out the nose, and allowing the head to come backwards and to come back to a neutral. I would be so curious as to what you experienced when you allowed yourself to do this exercise. This is where all possibilities exist. And this is where we have to go when we want to manifest. This is the place where we can really manifest from. And this is the place I go to before I pray. I hope that's helpful.
That felt wonderful. I mean, I was doing it. I just stepped aside and I was doing it. And the thing that I love that you said too was that this is the place where you can manifest from, where or if you're going to pray, right? This is the sacred space and you can get your body there through breath work. And it's just it feels amazing. Like I was going through it with you um off to the side. And right now, I can tell you that I feel very calm, very at peace, and very powerful at the same time.
Yeah, because that's when we are living and accessing our neurology and life and perspectives from an eagle eye view. A lot of times we might also be in pain because if we are a futurist, we are meant to be expanded to the future already. Okay. And if we spend so much time in the past, if we spend too much time being scrunched into our body and we're not including our body in the expansion and connection to the greater life, that can be painful. Because pain can happen when we're not living life in our nature also. So this helps us connect to beyond ourselves, and it helps us connect to the bright future that has already happened that we can just step into. Beyond our conditioning, beyond our traumas, beyond our limitations.
I felt like a channeled message. It was awesome. I feel so good after that experience and just listening to you talk, right? And you know what? Rob has a question for you. So, hi, Rob. Thanks for asking your question.
Hi,
Oh, if you're
Rob.
listening on the podcast, it says, how does that work in practice for emotional pain? Because you can listen to this in podcast form too.
For emotional pain, what we do is we gotta make the facial expressions. Okay. So when we are experiencing emotional pain, we really need to allow our facial muscles to show that emotion. So I always say to my clients, imagine you're scuba diving and you're not able to use words. And you have to show your scuba diving partner what you're experiencing only based on your facial cues. Because our face has and our hands have the highest square footage in the sensory homunculus of our brain. Okay. And the minute our body has a feedback loop, it can change the story. So if we're able to make the face of our emotions, if we are able to make the sound of the emotion, if we're able to touch the part of our body that we are experiencing the emotion, if we're able to have our body go through a different range of motion, and if we're able to be receptive with our hands to that emotion and make the sound of it and be with it as it is without trying to change it or have anything different, less than 90 seconds, that emotion shifts. And I always say emotions are like farts. The stink comes. If you're able to just be with that stink and stay present with that emotion without words, without verbalizing it, but just with sounds and facial expressions and touching that part of your body and having it have more breath in it and be able to inhale and exhale fully. Because sometimes what people will do is they'll try to exhale too much and they won't inhale enough. Or some people don't exhale enough, or some people inhale too fast and exhale too fast. So if you can do it at the appropriate speed and range and have breath in that part of your body and have the facial expressions and the sound, what that does is it forces us to have to utilize that prefrontal cortex of our brain. And so by focusing on so many different things and being with it at the same time and not abandoning that experience, we're able to click into our prefrontal cortex. And the minute we do that, our adult brain kicks in and we're no longer in fight flight. We can only go into fight or flight when we are in our little kid brain. And it's just so scary for us. And then we just run away. So that's how we address emotions. And that's how we practice emotions. So when my 6-year-old son is feeling sad, I actually will stay with him and make sure he gets the tears part. He gets to the tears. And what I'll do to encourage is I'll make the face. I'll make that face with him. And I'll say it's okay to be sad. Sometimes I get really sad too. And that usually will help people, not just kids, be able to have the emotion that they need to have. Some people avoid sadness at all costs. Other people avoid anger at all costs.
That's fantastic. You know, I was just thinking 90 seconds. 90 seconds is as long as the emotion needs to like pass through your body. And then sometimes, have you ever been just like so upset? You've been upset for days, but it's you doing it to you, right? Or sometimes, like when I go to therapy, I'll be like, I'm not going to cry. And my therapist always goes, cry, right? Because somehow along the way, I'm just to use myself as an example because I'm an open book here, as always. I was taught or learned that it was not okay to be sad, like to show that sadness, that to be crying. So maybe how many of you, especially because most of my audience is men, which I love you guys, thank you for that. But how many of you have been told don't cry? Or I was in the military, so I was told suck it up, like when I was feeling out of sorts, right? So how many of you, especially as a man, it was told that it's not okay to feel how you feel? Now obviously we all feel the emotions and we all feel anger and stuff, and we have to be able to express it in a healthy way, right? And I think what a beautiful explanation you gave of how to go through that process in a healthy way to experience those emotions. And you can do that alone and then go talk to that spouse that made you so upset, like that behavior triggered you, right? Because that's what happened. Something happened and you got triggered either into anger or sadness or whatever that big emotion was. But I think something else you said that really resonated with me was like not being in your authenticity causes pain. And I think a lot of times that's what happens to people. So, not experiencing your authentic emotions and allowing them out, not being able to recognize those triggers and what's triggering you. And all of these things are so important and play a part in how much pain you're in and how often.
Yeah. I myself, I'm Armenian. I was born in Iran. So Armenians in my family were taught that we can be tough. So we could express anger, but we weren't allowed to feel sad or weak, right? So I would get all these throat infections, throat issues, upper respiratory. And it's because every time I wanted to cry, I pushed it down and I didn't allow that emotion to happen. And so when I allowed that emotion to happen, when I allowed myself to be vulnerable enough to feel that emotion and to express it, and not just express it for myself in the privacy of my own room, but also in front of a friend. She got to see my tears and she's like, "What's going on for you?" And I was able to say, "Well, you said this. And I felt this in response to that." And she got a chance to say, "Hey, that's not what I meant." And so we got a chance to actually have even more intimacy and more deeper connection with each other as friends, right? And so in that moment, I allowed it to go rather than fronting, rather than being tough. I allowed that vulnerability, and I take care of a lot of men. Both of my practices had more men than women because they love the fact that they could just make a sound and that could just release things. And they could maybe make a statement with one sentence, and then they could actually have an achievable goal happen because men love achieving those goals, right? So do women, but women, we like a little bit more of the process also. Okay. We enjoy a little bit more talking about things. But it's like to have men be able to express emotions and to be able to release, that's a really huge thing. I really believe that women live longer than men because of the lack of men up to this point. Hopefully, the next generations are different. I'm raising my boy to be able to have emotions, right?
Same.
But the highest predictor, this isn't me, this is medical studies saying this. Yeah, congratulations, mama. This is medical studies saying this. The highest predictor of morbidity and mortality. So, morbidity is diseases, and mortality is death, is people's emotional expression or lack thereof. Okay. And then I always say the highest predictor of people being stuck in their life is not emotionally expressing. Why? When I was frustrated, when I went, and expressed that frustration, then it can help me take action to address whatever it is that I'm needing to address. That's what emotions are for. They're meant to drive us into addressing and action. They're not there to just make us miserable.
That is so true. And I think a lot of times that is the thing in previous generations, even my own. I'm Gen X, but I know in millennials coming behind me. And I think it's a little bit different for the next generations coming because as Gen Xers, a lot of us have changed this, right? Consciously. And that's understanding emotions and the processing of emotions and understanding triggers and repress the consequences of repressing emotions. For me, it was losing a kidney, as I said earlier. And so once I started learning about that and understanding that, it started flipping it for me. And I still struggle because obviously my subconscious mind was programmed that certain emotions were acceptable and certain emotions were not, just like you. And so it's conscious effort to rewrite that programming all the time and to take different actions, right? It's how you break the habit of being yourself, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says. But it's so important to have this understanding. And like we said, raising our boys, I have two boys. One is 19 and one is 10, and raising them to honor their emotions and to understand that it's okay to cry and to be angry and how to process that in a healthy way, right? Because
That's
if
it.
I'm angry and I'm not processing it in a healthy way, I'm going to frighten my kids. If my partner is angry and he's not processing it in a healthy way, it might frighten me or my kids or all of us, right? So the key there, I think, is honoring your emotions, but also processing them in a healthy way.
That's right. That's
Getting
right.
them unstuck from your body by doing that.
Yes. And, so many times I've checked adults and their children. Whatever the adults are not processing in their nervous system, it gets stuck as tension, right? Tension is our unexperienced experiences. That shows up in the child's spine. So I will not take care of a child if the parents are not under care, because if I open up that child, they're going to feel everything the parent is not letting them their own selves feel. That's actually going to create more pain for the child. So it's, as parents, we have a responsibility to process and feel rather than push down and think it disappears by drinking a glass of wine, to have to unwind at night, right? That's actually not unwinding. I love wine. Okay. It's not what we're doing, it's why we're doing what we're doing. Right. And it's so important to process it so we don't pass that legacy on to our children. People always think about leaving a financial legacy for their children, but what kind of emotional legacy are we leaving for them? What kind of rule legacy are we leaving for them? And what kind of soul legacy are we leaving for them? Do they know how to listen to their soul signals? Do you demonstrate that? Because when we listen to our soul signals, what happens is when our spine is in alignment, when our nervous system gets quiet because we've processed the emotional stuff and the mental stuff, then life becomes really simple because we follow our soul signals. And so then we just become, when we follow our soul signals, then it's just like decisions are easy. And life just is so simple. The drama, the trauma is gone.
Amazing. Amazing. And if you've been living your life without this knowledge, then you've been dealing with a lot of pain, I bet. And I think for me, I still live with pain. It's not as bad as it used to be because of these processes that I've been learning and these tools that I now have in my toolbox. Um, but it's not linear, right? There's still work that I'm doing. But I think understanding this and the spiritual, the mental, the emotional connection to the physical pain you're feeling is life changing.
Absolutely.
Mm. And the legacy you leave your children, like that is deep. That is definitely something I'm going to take with me from this episode and be very conscious of moving forward. Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't even believe it's been an hour and 10 minutes. This has been such a delightful conversation and so very enlightening.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this. And thank you
Oh,
for whoever is listening out there.
yes. I have the most extraordinary audience, and they're such wonderful people. I call them my hotties. And they are really good people who support this podcast and get enjoyment from it, and seem to be really enjoying the YouTube shorts now. So I'm sure they'll enjoy this when it's clipped up and posted as shorts as well. It'll also be on Instagram as well. But I want to thank you so much for being a guest. Like, really, you are an extraordinary human being. I think that we can all feel your energy. It came through very beautifully through this episode, through technology, because it's all energy, right? And I absolutely love that you taught us a technique and that we really have something tangible that we can rewind, replay, and use as much as we need it to go forward and help ourselves heal. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And with that, oh, you know what? Before I let you go, I should say, I know that you have a retreat coming up. We should talk about that really quickly. And we should also talk about how people can reach you if they want to book with you. We can't let you go without knowing that.
Okay, so how they can reach me is spinalmagic.com. And you can either email me or WhatsApp me, and you can get a hold of me that way. And I have a retreat coming up in Venice in Los Angeles on July 25th, 26th, and 27th. So it's a 3-day weekend of magic. And if you WhatsApp me, I can give you a 15-minute consult where we can do a video chat and see if we're a good fit for each other and to see what's going on for you and if I could be of help. And essentially, over this weekend of magic, you get to learn 12 exercises in how to help yourself. I give you 3 spinal sessions where I work with your spine. I have 6 spots left, and I have a maximum of 12 spots. Okay, so we're halfway filled. And so if you are interested, just WhatsApp me. That's the best way, because I'll be traveling to the US starting tomorrow. And I'm happy to have a chat with you.
Oh, it's so exciting that you'll be here. So you can go to follow Dr. Linda on Instagram. And on her Instagram, as you know, as so many people do, she has a link tree. And then you can go there to find out how to WhatsApp her, how to go to her website and contact her through there. And so that's a good starting place for reaching out to Dr. Linda and finding out more about the retreats and all of the amazing things that she does to help humanity. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
It has been my pleasure. Again, thank you so much for being a guest. I'm going to put you in the green room. I will wrap up the show. If you have time to stay, then I'll catch you there. If not, I'll reach out later and we'll connect again soon.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Kia.
See you soon. Ooh, how amazing was that? I feel like I got so much from that episode. It's why I do this, by the way, because I love to connect with people and I love to learn what they learn, or what they know, I should say. So thank you for your comments and questions. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, of course. A lot of you are watching these clips, right? And I appreciate that. I appreciate the love on the YouTube shorts and the reels. But follow, subscribe, set your notifications so you know when I come live, because half the time I don't even know when I'm going to come live, and that's intentional. So set your notifications so that you don't miss anything and that you can be part of the show like Rob was and like Sherry was by putting comments, and then you can participate. Okay, this is interactive. All right, and you can also drop your comments after the fact. So if you've made it this far, drop me a comment. Surprise me. Drop me something in the comments right now. Do it now. And let me know that you made it this far in the show. Let me see who's with me at the end. Also, maybe I'll give you a prize of some sort. I don't know. I'll think about that. Anyway, so this is the part of the show where I do something very special for you. Okay, what I have here is a card deck. These are very special cards too. It's called Soul Truth Self-Awareness Card Deck by Brianne Hovey. These are daily questions that will transform your life. Okay, this is it. So what I want to do is I want you to just do you remember that breath work technique we just learned? Go there, do that, Let's take a breath, close your eyes, center yourself in, hold, out, nice and slowly, or do the technique that Dr. Linda just taught you. Okay. And I want you to think about your higher power, like whether that's your higher self or source or the universe or God or Buddha or Allah or whatever you believe in. This is a judgment-free zone. It's an open, welcoming, inclusive space for you. And I'm going to shuffle up these cards. That's what I'm doing now. And what happens is once I do that, one's going to fly out. That is going to be your message. It's specifically for you, just for you. And I want you to take what resonates and put it to use in your life. Remember that you are worthy, you are enough, you are amazing, you are a beautiful soul. You deserve everything. You deserve to be living your best life possible. Just because you were born, just because you exist, you deserve it. So don't let anyone ever make you feel less than. And don't you dare let anyone make you feel like you need to dim your light to fit in. Okay? If there's anything we should be taking away, one of the many amazing things we learned today, stand in your authenticity, boo. Okay? You need to be who you are. And that will help you feel better. Okay? Pain in the mind, pain in the heart, the emotions, pain in the body. Remember that. Okay? So let's heal together. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there it is. And it fell. All right, hold on. Okay. I got it. Ooh, this is a good one. And I know you need to hear it. Okay. It says, am I letting fear stop me? This is your soul truth for today. Are you experiencing a mountain of fear right now? Are you stalling, freezing, or giving up? The juicy secret is that you are the boss of fear. You are unstoppable, but it's up to you to see that by taking action. Today's soul action. Today, be brave and do it scared. Choose one fear and move through it. You are in need of a hero. So that is who you will become. See? All right there. See that? That's your message. Well, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for your questions and your comments and your support. If you want to follow me, you'll do it here. I have just submitted pictures to Chocolate Cheesecake Pinup Magazine by Retro Lovely in association with Dr. Ernest L. Cox. He created this book called Chocolate Cheesecake Pinups. Every year they do a special volume at Retro Lovely. And this is the first one I was in. Okay. This is the Rockabilly Barbie on the cover. So I love her. She's one of my favorites. She's iconic. She's the moment. Something how that goes. This is me. I'm in here. This is brunette me. Do you like me better blonde or with dark hair? I don't know. But I'm blonde right now because people seem to like it. But I do miss the dark hair. Anyways, this is me. This is my first appearance in any pinup magazine ever. And now I've been in like 8 of them. And I'm in the new issue of this magazine that's coming out I don't know, probably the first 2 volumes are out now. You can go to @RetroLovely, on at Retro Lovely Magazine on Instagram. You can find out the information there. You can follow me because I'll be posting about it. And also, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors before I go. Let's not forget about them. Mental health matters. It's so important to me. So, as a veteran, especially, and as a veteran podcaster, because I have the Female Veterans podcast as well, I support Eris Health. You should too. They are on Instagram. I'm not selling you anything. Just go follow them. And here is another one for you that you've got to know about because they are doing workshops and amazing things. This guy, Caesar, he's a friend. He has created this whole platform to help you with your mental health. It's called Mental Health Code. You can follow them on Instagram as well. Again, there's no sell there. There's just information. Go check it out. He does do seminars. He does do courses. He does do coaching. That's up to you if you're into it. But I'm just supporting their Instagram page. So go and follow them and support their work there. And I'd like to thank them and shout them out for sponsoring this episode, as well as many others. I love them so much. They're good people. So anyway, with that, let's wrap it up. I love you guys. And I will be back next week with another dating episode. And then after that, I have another episode. Oh my gosh, we're going to talk again. Did you guys see the one that I said, why aren't men dating, or why men are not dating? Have you seen that episode? There's been like some controversy. So I'm going to address that next week. And the next week after that, I have another gentleman coming on, not my same friend, Fawad, another guy who hit me up, and he was like obsessed with the episode. And he's like, I have input and I have another angle I want to approach. And we're going to just dive into that. So, and then I had a guy in the comments read me the riot act about the whole episode and say I didn't touch on the correct opinion at all, me or my guy friend Fawad. And so I've invited him to have a conversation with me. And I have every intention of inviting him on the podcast if he'll come on so we can have that conversation. So if you watch that and you think for 1 second I was bashing men, you got it all wrong. Because I love men. I love you guys. And I will talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.